What if you are a Christian working in a public school and you have a moment of crisis, a crisis of faith? Are you going to stand up for the truth of God's word, or are you going to kowtow to the pressures of the cultural left? This is the story of Jessica Tapia, who joins the Give Me Liberty podcast starting now.
In the Drupa School District in California, teachers are prohibited from telling parents when their children are, quote, transitioning to another gender. So your kid could be getting castrated, or chemically or physically, and you're not allowed to know that. Jessica, first to you, I assume the other teachers in your district complied with this grotesque order. Why did you not?
I'm truly afraid that many other teachers don't even know they're under these directives. I didn't know I was under these directives until I found out. And when I found out from my school district that I was under these directives, I chose to speak up about them and stand my ground and stand in my faith and beliefs. And that's when they said, that's going to be an issue. You have to comply with these directives or your job is on the line. And so I chose God. I chose to stick with my Christian faith. And because of that, they released me from employment because, in their words, they could not accommodate my religious beliefs.
Hey, welcome back to the Give Me Liberty podcast here at the Freedom Center at Liberty University, joined by special guest Jessica Tapia. Many of you have heard her story. It's absolutely incredible, Jessica, to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Hey, so I just wanted, for the folks who have not maybe heard of the story, just share us just a little background of yourself. How long have you been teaching, and kind of what happened, over the past year, the last, say, 7 to 9 months?
Sure. Yeah. So I, right out of high school, I got started. In college. I chose to go somewhere nearby to home. I'm a homebody, so I just went up the street to California Baptist University. And overall, I think I was there for a total of about 8 years between my bachelor's, my teaching credential, and my master's in education. And during that time, I had already began substitute teaching at the district that I attended school in. I actually met my husband in high school at the high school that I was just recently fired from. I began, substitute teaching and coaching, and really felt God calling me and telling me, I'm calling you to be a teacher. And so that's a little bit of my background and how I got.
Real quick, so you're saying this high school is the high school, or this school is the school you went to in high school, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and this is where you met your husband. This is like home for you.
Oh, totally. It's actually really interesting how I met my husband. I joined the swim team my junior year. My friends convinced me to. It was totally weird, but I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll try it, and grew super close with the swim coach. She invited me to her girls' Bible study, and it turns out her son became interested in me. And she herself told me one day, would you ever consider dating my son? And I literally told her, I don't want to, you've become my mentor. I don't want to affect our relationship. I don't know, maybe. And, went for it. And he's now my husband. So
wow, that's
really
awesome.
Interesting. Yeah. The school I was hired from, got invited to a Bible study from my swim coach, met my husband. And then, here we are today. And I'm, released from employment because of my religious beliefs, and we can't accommodate them.
So 8 years at California Baptist University. By the way, I've heard nothing but phenomenal things about CBU. And here you are, I'm assuming undergrad and master's also in education. Any other credentialing as well?
I went there to get my single subject teaching credential in physical education.
Okay. And then you've been teaching then professionally after college, post-college, for how long?
Total of 6 years. This event happened at the end of my 6th year of teaching. I was also substitute teaching 2 years prior to the 6 years.
Wow. And so walk us through this, because I think here's the deal. Ever since I've been alive, I've always heard of controversy of Christian teachers in public schools, but more recently, right, especially since COVID, we're seeing the progression of critical race theory, queer theory, gender theory being pushed into education, right, in a very serious way, and it's been an absolute threat, right, to parental rights, and also when you think about it, childhood innocence, right? I've seen it as a form of abuse, and these children need to be protected. Here you are, a Christian teacher in Southern California, and you came. There was a moment. I want you to talk a little bit about AB 1266. This is a bill that passed in 2014. But you came to this moment where you realized, oh my goodness, this has been in effect for 9 years now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I guess I had kind of heard a little bit about it, and really I think it was through social media. And I guess, to be honest, I didn't take it very seriously. I didn't think it was something they were really holding teachers accountable to. I just looked at it as a way of trying to bring more, safety and acceptance and inclusion of, transgender students. Really didn't look at it as something that was going to be so directly impacting my career and what I was allowed and able to do, as a teacher and living out my faith. And so the way I found out about how serious this was when it's really interesting how this all happened. Many people think that there was like a situation on the job or interaction with a student, which led to my whole story and my firing, and it wasn't anything I did at work. Students on their own found my social media, and I'm very clear and vocal, and I don't hold back on my views and opinions and beliefs and Christian conservative values on my social media. And I don't know, I'd like to think they looked me up to see a picture of my kids that I talk about or my horse that I talk about, and they found things they didn't like and things that caused negative feelings for them, and they decided that I shouldn't be a teacher based on the things that they were finding on my social media. And so they sent all kinds of things into the district and let the district know, how these things made them feel. And so the district called me in for a meeting, called me up to the office and said, we're immediately placing you on paid administrative leave. We need to investigate what's been brought to us via social media. And so then from there, I'm starting my story and it's going to be super long. So please cut me off.
Well, let me say this, just as a context question. When you say things on social media, give us for example, things that made them feel uncomfortable or have negative feelings or emotions. I'm hearing a lot of things about social emotional learning now, right, in schools. And so it sounds to me like you're being ostracized, you're being canceled because of your Christian convictions.
Yep.
Were there anything incendiary, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, so there was an initial video. So obviously I kind of realized that students had found me because they started leaving really awful comments on some of my posts. And the one that really seemed to blow up, and the one that the district told me students airdropped around campus, was a video that I had made. I was shopping in Kohl's one day and I was just seeing all of the LGBTQ clothing, the pride clothing, and I realized that they're now making this stuff for toddlers and babies. And that just really got me that day. And I want to bring awareness to other parents of these things. And I was videoing and just kind of talking through look at this, pride shirt for a 3-year-old. Look at this onesie for a 12-month-old. And, in the caption said, I think it's absolutely wrong. These things are being made for toddlers and babies now. They can't even process what pride is, and just shared, again, my personal thoughts and opinions on that. And the students who found that video did not like it at all. And that's what they airdropped and sent into the district. And so basically what it came down to is, from finding my social media and clearly seeing my views and beliefs via what I post, and mind you, some of what they sent in were literally Bible verses. And it was just the most strange moment to be in that meeting with my district and them lay my posts in front of me as some sort of evidence. And half of the posts are Bible verses.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking up at them like, and what? I don't know what you're trying to prove. Like, I have the full right and freedom to post Bible verses, on my personal page. And I don't, say I'm a teacher. I don't, bring up the school I work at, none of that. This is my, personal thing that students decided to come onto and then basically use what they found to paint me as a teacher in some sort of way. And, I'm going to stop there because I'll just keep going for another hour on the next meeting. So if you
that's perfect. Yeah, no, absolutely. So essentially you were targeted for your Christian beliefs. You were sharing basically what amounts to freedom of thought, freedom of expression on social. And, in a school district, when it comes to the classroom, inside the classroom, that's the only part in which really a school district has jurisdiction over your life, right? I mean, in terms of what you're employed to do basically takes place in the classroom. What you're talking about is basically extracurricular. This is on the outside. This is in a complete different environment. And these are First Amendment protected speech and thoughts and ideas that can be shared publicly for anyone. So we're together so far on this. So there's nothing outside of that. And then tell us then, I mean, here you are, you're obviously a parent and a teacher. You've had these Christian beliefs the entire time. So before you even stepped into the profession, here you are a Christian teacher. What I'm curious about is, based on the kinds of discussions that people are having now in terms of how advanced and how progressed and how leftist public education has been, it seems impossible to think that a Christian teacher could exist anywhere in this country. What's interesting is you're saying, hey, look, I didn't think that this particular law was really being enforced. It was kind of out there, but it's not like you were confronted with it every single day, which sounds to me like in many ways there's probably some normalcy, right? In terms of the environment that you're in, not normalcy of, queer ideology, transgenderism, that kind of thing being pushed constantly, but just normalcy in the sense that you're not confronted with that on any given day, right?
Right. And that's what's very interesting about my case and my story. And like my attorney will say, like, Jessica was fired for nothing she did, strictly for what she believes. And that's what's so strange to me is my school district could have essentially discovered my beliefs my first year of teaching. And this story that's taking place now in this 6th year of teaching that I'm in, it could have taken place at any year, because what it comes down to is I was found out about. That's all it comes down to. And so it's been such an interesting journey, because I'm just like, well, there are thousands of other teachers out there that could at any moment also be found out about. And obviously, it would be up to their discretion on how clear and vocal they're going to be about, their faith. And, that's a decision I had to make in this too. And that's why like I said, I took 3 months of stress leave during this whole ordeal, trying to decide, am I gonna put my head in the sand for the sake of keeping my salary? Am I going to resign and just kind of wash my hands of this, corruption that I've discovered in public ed, and try to find my purpose elsewhere? Or, like I said, am I gonna face the beast and, stand in and up for my faith, and really kind of put the ball back in the district's court and, see, do they really believe in freedom of religion? Are they willing to accommodate my beliefs? They're so willing and open to accommodate whatever ideas and beliefs that a student has, but yet you have, a teacher born and raised a believer. I've always been the same teacher from year 1 to year 6, and they can't accommodate the Christian religion that this country was found upon, but are so open and willing and eager to accommodate this new transgender ideology. And
so this is what is so just like this is that kind of Overton window in culture right now, that we're not talking about you checking your beliefs at the door of employment. Okay, that has been kind of the debate, for the past several decades of no. You're supposed to, teach Darwinian evolution, even though you might believe in creation science or whatever. You have to sort of push this sort of secular narrative. You can't pray in the classroom like you might want to. You can't really promote and propagate a biblical worldview in a public classroom, with taxpayer-funded education. You can't do those things. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is you specifically were targeted for your personally held beliefs and convictions, not at the door, inside the doorway of a public school, but literally these things are put out there for other people to see. This is your own personal family page, right? Yeah. And so these are your closely held convictions. You're being canceled, being fired, being terminated from your employment because these were put out there for all people to see. And they're saying, no. It's not what your behavior or conduct as a teacher in the classroom we found objectionable. It's what you actually believe about God, the gospel, in this culture that we're living in.
Again, another interesting thing about my story is it really came down to the district finding out about how I would potentially or hypothetically handle a situation that I was placed in. So for example, and this was the first directive that I found out about that instantly in my heart and soul. I was like, I can't do that as a believer. And that was refer to students by their preferred gender or pronoun. And again, never been faced with this situation, but the district found out about and just straight out asked me, if you had a student who, is a biological female now believing they're a male, wanting to be a male, asking you to call them by male pronouns and names, would you do that? And I said, no, I wouldn't do that. And that was a huge issue for them. And they, repainted that question in 57 different ways, trying to see if I would change up my answer. And, I just explained to them, I believe God created man and woman, and gender is not a choice. You are who he made you to be in the womb. And I also believe God is love. And so with those two things coming together, I believe the best way I can love someone and love my students is to affirm them in who God made them to be. And
by telling them the truth.
Yes. And that's what I'm really discovering, going through this trial, is there are so many different definitions of love out there. And we all throw it around thinking that we're, referring to the same thing. But, my definition of love is telling the truth. Yeah. And, affirming people in their God-given, purpose and being and identity in him. And the culture and the modern day society thinks love is love. And what even is that? What does that even mean?
Yeah, 100%, Jessica. I totally agree. You did have to face up to the beast, and you did have to tell the truth, and you did so with love. By the way, when we say speak the truth in love, it's not it. Oftentimes, I think people think, oh, it's about the kind of tone you use. No, love requires truth. Truth is the precondition for love to be made possible. If there is no truth, you cannot have love. So if there is not an objective moral basis, right, to understand, then there is actually no real love that is being conveyed. The definition of love is more like hatred. because the world wants to affirm the very things that are self-destructive, that will take away your life and your opportunity and your God-given potential. That kind of affirmation is hatred.
Yes, yes. In my eyes, if I were to, be a teacher affirming a student in their identity and gender confusion, that would not be me helping give them a hope and a future, as God promises that he wants to do for us, give us a hope and a future. I know that, and I all the stories, and I think we all have, of so many of people who decide to really go through with this transitioning end up so broken and hopeless and regretful, and it's just heart-wrenching. And so to walk my students into that, I would never. And then on top of that, to withhold all of that from their parents, which was another directive that was put on me, and I clarified with my district, are you asking me right now to lie to parents? And they said, yes, it's for the student's privacy and it's the law. And I was
absolutely
just
not
dumbfounded.
Right. Yeah. So Jessica, there's a lot of things here. I know we could probably talk about this particular issue for hours.
Yeah.
What I do want to get to is what you learned in this process, and then what you could maybe even communicate to parents that are out there, Christian parents in particular, either about, whether it be public education, private education, like what have you learned? And then obviously you're a mom. And so you're thinking about your own kids, and, the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. So here you are, what it's like to be a mom. And I'm sure you, as a teacher, were thinking, I want to teach these kids exactly the way I would hope people would teach and handle my kids in a classroom.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, overall, I'm being maybe too hopeful, but I'm going to stay this way, in that I hope and pray that my story can bring some serious change. Clearly, my district really tried to fear me into submission with the use of the words laws and ed codes that I was obviously vocalizing to them I'm not willing to comply with and uphold, because they are not in line with my beliefs. And I'm hopeful that this can bring change to laws, change to ed codes, and make public education a better, safer place for students, and for parents to truly be able to entrust their students too, because I see so many parents just thinking they can drop their kids off at the schoolhouse gates and they'll be safe and they'll be fine. And gosh, that's really not the case. It's such a gamble as to what they're going to be exposed to, and parents just don't know. Parents, I'm discovering it firsthand with the hundreds of messages I'm getting from parents and as well as teachers that didn't even know that teachers are being asked to behave in this way with their children. And they're asking me what should I do? Should I homeschool? Should I try to find a private school? And it's quite an honor that God is using me as this vessel to help guide parents and protect children, and really fight for teachers, and like I said, hopefully bring about change.
Yeah, I'm going to say this in the larger sort of evangelical world. There was more recently a debate. It was over at the Gospel Coalition. It was between a New Testament professor of theology at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, Dr. Jonathan Pennington. We talked a little bit about this off camera, and somebody who was a kind of a Bible study author, leader, teacher down in Dallas, Texas, Jen Wilkin. Both of them were kind of going back and forth. Jonathan Pennington was really advocating for a public school exit and, homeschooling your children, kind of the classical method and all of that. But I'll be honest with you, he was not doing it all that effectively, because he would oftentimes pay way too much deference to the other side of this, and he wasn't it wasn't serious enough. And Jen Welkin, to be honest with you, she's a very she's in the past has been a very thoughtful person, but more recently, she seemed to be advocating from a position that is quite aged and dated. It's not really, 2023. Her kind of line of thinking, it sounded more like 1993. And the first thing I would say to any parent who's watching, listen, if a teacher is being told right now in any school district to lie to you, that ought to signal a problem. And you say, well, I'm okay with a little bit of lying. You're okay with any lying, you're not being a great parent. I'm sorry. You have a responsibility to take care of your child, to put first of all, their physical safety, then their mental and spiritual safety. You put that first, right? And any kind of system where a teacher is taught to lie to a parent, guardian, somebody who better to love that child than their own parent, but to lie to them about their own well-being, I'm sorry, that's the most evil, wicked, pernicious thing that I can imagine. They absolutely have a responsibility to pull them out of any school district where that's happening. And Jessica, I just want to commend you for your bravery, for obviously this costs you as a wife and as a mother. It's costing you. Your reputation's being put on the line. It's costing you economically. You don't have a job right now. But you're paying the price that matters. It is the only price that matters right now.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think right before we hopped on, I happened to read a verse, and I'm trying to see if I can find it really quick, but, essentially saying what an honor it is, to be dishonored for his name's sake. And, that's really just what I keep reminding myself daily, because, at the end of the day and at the end of life, all that I want to know that I did was, put him first, above pleasing man. And that's really a verse that helped me make what I believe right decision in this trial was, I'm sitting across from these higher ups of mine, these district personnel, an attorney of the district. And, you're in that position and they're telling you to do these things, and, your flesh wants to please man and just obey with, what your higher ups are asking you to do. But, you have God, and I had to really check my fear. Okay, what am I feeling fear in right now? Fear of these men in front of me, or is my fear in the Lord? And so I had to just continually keep myself on the straight and narrow and keep my fear in the Lord, and know that, yes, they might pay me my paycheck, but the Lord is who will provide. Even if I don't see how, I know who, and that's all that matters. So just be obedient, and God will take it from there.
Amen. So well said. Jessica Tapia, thank you so much for joining the Give Me Liberty podcast. Thank you for your courage and for sharing with us today. We so appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Happy to be on.
Hey, thank you for joining the Give Me Liberty podcast. I admire so much Jessica's courage, her conviction, her willingness to put it on the line. I know that there are countless others who are facing down the same situation in school districts literally all across the country. I appreciate her coming on and telling her story, and I hope that it inspires, encourages you out there. If you're a teacher, if you're a mom, if you're a parent, a grandparent of a student right now, to take responsibility in the situation of your children's education. It is so critically important right now that we get this right. It is our responsibility as parents. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're a father or a mother, right now, you have decisions to make. And I pray that you make the right ones. We want to be a resource to you here at the Standing for Freedom Center at Liberty University. Part of what we try to do in the articles that we put out, the Theology of Politics series, other podcasts, is to try to inform you and resource you to make good decisions. I am a strong advocate for homeschooling. I don't believe that homeschooling is the only option, but I do believe it is a really good option considering the current paradigm that we have in 2023. The other alternative is private school. There are a lot of private school options in your area. one of the things I would hope that you would even consider, if some of you are asking questions about schooling options, maybe look at Liberty Online Academy. It is a K through 12 option that is very viable for where you might be. You can purchase curriculum. You can even be a part of an online module. You can have it fully accredited. Look at liberty.edu for more information on that. But whatever you do, I hope that you do something. You're in the driver's seat as a parent. It is so important that you play that role. And know that we are standing right here to help you. Until next time, God bless you.